Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a good day. It was a work day and it was a bit stressful. It was a stressful day, but I'm making an effort to release the stress and to make the day a more positive situation. So that is setting my intention. So that's where I am today. It is good. It is good to spend some time with all my little YouTube friends. As you can tell, I am in a different location yet again. I thought that I would take advantage of the lovely sunshine, get a little vitamin D. I don't necessarily have windows down because I don't necessarily want anyone to hear what I'm talking about, but just kind of soaking in the nice weather while I still have it. And I've been thinking lately, so I'm filming this in early October, and autumn is one of my favorite times of year. Growing up, it was definitely my favorite, but I think now I definitely split my favorites between spring and autumn or fall, whatever you want to call it. I definitely like these in-between times where I live in a state that definitely has winter, so it's the state between the cold of winter and the heat of summer, and so it's really nice to have these times of the year where it's a joy to be outside and really soak in all the beauty of my state, because I do enjoy living in the state of Michigan, and I like being in the sun and just kind of having all that there. So I've been thinking about this time of year and thinking about, how does this time of year really connect with a magical practice, right? Not thinking about a magical life versus a mundane life, but what is a magical life, living your life every day with magic. And so I got to thinking about ways that you can connect with or harness the power of autumn. It's a very interesting time. We come into autumn we're coming away from the midsummer, right? We've had that heighten of power, and when you look at the Sabbath story, the god is waning in power, and he's growing old, and his power is diminishing and things like that. So that's the season that we're in. We're in this preparedness time of year where, especially if you are in a northern climate where you have a winter with snow, you're thinking about having those stores of provisions that will get you through the winter, get you through those lean months when things aren't growing, when you can't go harvest things fresh from a garden or things like that. And so how do you connect with that and work magic with it and things like that? So tens seem to work incredibly well for me and for putting together ideas for this channel. So this is a top 10 ways to connect with or harness the power of autumn. Okay. So I think that I've got some things here that are some pretty easy things, and some things that, if you were living a life pre magic You might have done things like, some of these suggestions, and then there's definitely some magic to be had too. So let's jump in. So the first suggestion, when I get to this time of year, I really think about what I'm eating. And so this is definitely the start of soup season for me. We definitely do a lot of soups throughout winter and things like that. So I'm into soup making and I'm into baking. Like, I've got an itch right now to make bread. I bought some 8-grain flour over the weekend, and I'm kind of really dying to make some bread. And the cool thing about those ideas is that, if you're into kitchen witchery or what have you, you can bake intentions and you can cook intentions into food. You can look at your ingredients and look at the correspondences of vegetables and spices and things like that and cook with intention. You can cook for health. You can cook for love. You can cook for fertility if you're looking to maybe expand your family and have a baby. Definitely you can cook with and use food as a focal point for spell work. So that's one thing that I'm like really, really thinking about this time of year. The next on the list is, excuse me, before I was identifying as a witch or anything like that, when fall came, I always had to have a new pumpkin scented candle. And I burned that candle throughout the entire season. And by the end of autumn, that candle was usually gone. And so I think that that's a really, it's a trigger for me in my life. And so pumpkin was always a popular scent, but there's other scents as well, like an apple cider or a straight up apple. That is a really popular scent, and it just kind of helps set the mood and gets you thinking about what the season is about that preparedness, for me as a witch, autumn is also about being thankful because that is, the harvests are happening. So with Lammas and Maban and Samhain, those are the 3 harvests of the year. So we're thinking about the thankfulness and the gratefulness of the harvest and having the food necessary to get through winter. So that seasonal scent just kind of helps to prepare. That's almost like the first step for autumn. So I thought I'd mention that. Let's see. Next. Oh, so that kind of jumps into what I was saying about being thankful. So there are many ways that we, in my practice anyhow, and with our coven, we look at thankfulness and gratitude. And you can use a candle and set it with the intention of remembering what you're thankful for. And every time you light that candle, I actually did this year. You light the candle and you think about what you're thankful for. You might want to name things. You might want to at least hold the thought of what you're thankful for, and being thankful for being thankful. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. You could also set an intention to help you with your timing of any preparation that you might be doing for winter. I mean, there's any number of candle magic ideas that you can work into into this time of year. So that's number 3, is remembering to be thankful. Absolutely. Number 4, nature walks. It's a beautiful time of year to get out in nature and see the changing of the colors in the trees as they're turning and falling. Being out in nature, there's always something in every time of year to observe and to learn from. And this is, brisk fall walks are fantastic. And this time of year, you might be doing or thinking about things like last minute wild crafting of any plants for medicinal or magic purposes. We have an oak tree in our backyard, so I will often pick up acorns with the idea of using them for either craft projects or for spell work. So, doing those last minute gatherings for those types of things, for spell work, things like that. That's harnessing that power and that connection with the season, so to speak. Next, observing the cycle of life and the cycle of the year as we watch our days continue to shorten. And this goes back to we're in the dark portion of the year. And so what does that mean for you and your life and your beliefs? Do you work with the traditional story of the year and the 8 Sabbats? Do you celebrate the 8 Sabbats? So what kind of magic would you be working this time of year? And sometimes just observing how that cycle works and how it affects your life. There's a lot of power in that. And how can you harness that for change, right? So these shortening of days, this darker half of the year, the myths, the stories behind it, and what does that mean for you? Some things to think about. All right. Another way of connecting with this season is by reading a seasonal book. There's a lot of people that have books that they might read at certain times of the year. And this time of year might be perfect for you to, maybe you've had a busy summer and maybe what you need is to think about some you time. And maybe that involves picking up a book and having some downtime, maybe having a nice cup of cocoa or cup of hot cider or some warm beverage, cup of tea, and curl up in a blanket, and maybe you're sitting out on a porch somewhere and enjoying, a crisp morning or a crisp fall day, and having that time to allow your brain to just kind of escape. Escape is an okay word. At first I wasn't sure I liked it, but it's growing on me. But put aside the busyness of your life and just have some you time. Autumn is great for that. Okay. Next on the list, coming back to that idea of preparation for winter. Maybe you're a canner. Maybe, this time of year you're doing canning, and that connects back with thankfulness. Maybe you're dehydrating things. Maybe you're freeze drying things if you're lucky enough to have a freeze dryer. But all about that preserving, that connection to the natural cycle of things. There's definitely observations. There's definitely magic to be had, and there's power there in the collection of the act. And what can you do with that energy that's collected? Maybe put it to we're having some pretty weird weather out there right now. Maybe energy put towards that can be released into helping to combat things like climate change, helping to put energy out to help people recover who have been affected by hurricanes or storms or other natural things. So there's always that energy that we build from things can be put to a purpose. And so maybe challenging yourself to what can I do? If I'm collecting energy from an activity, what can I do with it? Another thing to think about. Okay. Next is a favorite. This is actually an idea that goes back to my Temple of Witchcraft lessons. I don't remember exactly which year this came from, but we were introduced to the idea of doing a meditation where you go into meditation with the intention of meeting the spirit of the season. Okay, so you're going into meditation with the desire to meet with the spirit of autumn. And how does autumn depict itself to you? What is that encounter like? Is there advice that can be given from autumn? Are there lessons to be learned from that spirit? And what can you do going forward from there? Okay. I think that I've had some pretty interesting and intense conversations and interactions with different seasonal spirits doing this at, the 4 times of the year. So I would encourage you to look at that and what kind of messages does it bring to you? What kind of lessons does it bring to you? Okay? Something else to think about. Number 9 on my list is another favorite of mine, and that is working with ancestors. So this is a direct connection with Samhain, which is the time, of course, when the veil is the thinnest, when connecting with our ancestors is easiest. But it's not the only time of year when you can connect with your ancestors. Do you have an ancestral altar in your home? Maybe the autumn, if you don't, maybe the autumn is a great time to establish one, to do meditations where you might connect with ancestors, lighting a candle and honoring them, different things like that, asking them for guidance, asking them for advice, asking them, to walk and protect you, things like that. Working with ancestors is a big part of my practice. So, another thing to think about. Last on the list, and I hope tying up all of these ideas, would be to make offerings to fertility deities, agricultural deities, folks like Demeter, of course, and Dionysus come to mind straight away. Frigga. I think that even hearth and home deities, like, again, Frigga, Hera, Hestia, if these are some of the deities that you might work with, maybe this is a good time to make offerings to them, to thank them for aid in your life. Or maybe a god or goddess like this is one that you want to work with. But if you're someone who does a lot of gardening and harvesting and canning and things like that, then maybe you want to be thankful for the harvest and thank them for the harvest. Even if you're not a gardener, but maybe you are canning and you're buying vegetables from someone that you're canning, thank them for helping to provide this to you, or if you're simply stocking your own cupboards and being mindful of that, then, being thankful for that opportunity and things like that. So offerings, I like offerings in general. I'm always looking for good offerings. And, maybe as far as like what's a good offering, maybe a good offering might be that bread that you baked, right? Or some of that soup or broth that you made, or lighting a candle, in this season. Luckily offerings come in a lot of varieties. If you're making an offering to Dionysus, I think wine is a must, right? But even things like whiskey, because or whiskey, or any alcohol like that, because those things, it was made from harvested items, right? Even beer is made from hops and barley, and that all has to be harvested. Now, granted, the grains would have been harvested earlier, like around Lammas, sorry. But yeah, those are all great offerings. So there we have it. I like this list. I'm going to be, it's definitely given me something to think about as I continue going through autumn in my life. And so I hope that it stirred some thought for you in yours. So yeah, I'm at the point where I'm at the end of the video where I feel like I am still looking for my groove and how to wrap things up. So let's just skip to if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. If you click the bell notification, then you'll get messages when I post new videos. Please share, like, subscribe, all those good things, and leave a comment. All of that helps to grow the channel and push it out there to other individuals who might enjoy it. And in the comments, I would love to hear it. First of all, if you have a suggestion for how to connect with or harness energy from autumn that I didn't think of, I would love to hear any of your suggestions. And second, if you're doing any of this kind of work, gratefulness work, preparedness work, things like that, I'd love to know about it. So comment down below, okay? That's going to be it for today's video. Thank you for taking the time to walk the path for a little while with me. And until next time, blessed be.